she is.
Hi.
Hi.
Jessica, how you doing?
What's up? What's up?
Nice to be with you guys.
Jessica, we're going to give everyone like 1 minute. They're all coming in right now. What's
nice
up?
to be connected with everybody. It looks like a bunch of happy, smiling faces. I love that.
It's all fake. I told them to put on her front because of you. We're all good. No, I'm joking.
It looks like everyone's genuinely really happy.
Heck yeah. Okay, Angela, you got everybody coming in?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What's up, Brad? What's up, man? Darren, what's up? Javon? So Jessica, just so you know, just to give you a little context, we're going to have a combination of online marketers that are starting their entrepreneur journey, and we have a lot of fitness pros. So I would say on the Fit Pro side, there's about 75% that have already transitioned to a full-time deal.
Yeah.
And the other 25 are, doing like a 9 to 5 that are looking to transition out.
Nice.
So let me give these guys another 30 seconds and we'll get rock and rolling. Javon, what's up, man?
What's going on, baby?
Good to see you, brother. Happy
All
birthday.
day.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got a real cool guest for you guys. A new friend. So Jessica, we're going to get started. Angela, just watch my back. So guys, man, we have a guest, Jessica. Okay. Miss Jessica Samis. And I reached out to Jessica last week and I seen what she was doing. She's a mentor. She's a coach. She's won a 2 Comma Club from ClickFunnels, which means she's made over $1 million in one sales funnel. And what she specializes in is she helps folks go from like their 9 to 5, and then she helps them transition to like starting their own online business. Okay. Yeah. And what she does with that, I would imagine, Jessica, you help them find their passion, how to monetize that, right? And then
kind of like how to take their idea and turn it into a real business that aligns with real tangible skills to get you results.
Right. Okay, cool. And then she helps them scale from 6 figures, 7 figures and beyond. Mm-hmm. And then she told me about one of her successful students. Was it $300,000 a year or was that a month?
He's at now $500,000 a month.
$500,000 in a month, one of her students. Not her, one of her students, okay? What else? She started off in direct sales, as I mentioned, and she's here to tell you her story.
Yeah.
Hopefully drop some gems so we can pick them up. And Jessica, I'm going to turn the floor over to you, and just if you can go and introduce yourself, please, and tell us who you are.
Sure. Well, I am so excited, and I really love being here. I think that anyone who is pursuing their passion to, buck the system and create a life of freedom and fulfillment is my kind of people. So I'm really glad to be here with all of you. It's definitely been a passion of mine I've been at this now for over a decade. It's been such a fun ride, and the best part of the whole thing is the people you meet along the journey. So I'm really grateful to be here with all of you. Incredible people. I know Mike is amazing. We've had some fun talking and getting to know each other, which is really great. So thank you so much for having me here. But I know when people hear my story, it's a little intimidating. It sounds like it's so far away, or depending on where you're at in your entrepreneurial journey. But there's nothing really special about me other than I just never quit. And I really believe that to be successful in anything, the only way you're going to fail is if you give up. Like maybe you'll make some mistakes along the way. Maybe you'll mess up. Maybe you'll lose some clients or lose some revenue or whatever here and there. But the only way that that's going to be a failure is if you allow it to, and you don't develop past it and grow and continue, right? So that's a big piece to why I'm where I am today, and obviously coaching and mentorship and investing back into myself for sure. But there's nothing special about me. I'm not some genius, savant, whatever. I'm just a normal, ordinary girl. I graduated university in 2008, so kind of a similar situation as we are in now, where, the world kind of had this big recession and people weren't really sure what was possible. And I graduated with an international finance degree. And so I was supposed to, and I actually had an internship in New York on Wall Street as a stockbroker. So that was my plan. And then obviously the recession happened and the internship was pulled. So what I ended up doing was becoming a financial advisor. And, you know, for an agency, I think it was Edward Jones. So I'm sure Edward Jones exists all over the world. So it's a common company that people, I'm sure, are aware of. And I had to do cold calling and door knocking in the middle of Canadian winter. It was really, really brutal, and I just didn't like my life like that. And I ended up meeting my now husband because he worked for another finance company. My friend was trying to recruit me from my company to his company, and at the same time trying to set us up. And so what ended up happening was we just realized that we had no freedom in finance. We were stuck in a very archaic traditional system that really put a lot of rules and regulations on how we could, you know, promote our offer, how we could talk to customers and what we could say and what we couldn't say. And we just realized that we needed a better path. And so we were presented an opportunity, obviously, you know, in direct sales, like Mike had mentioned, to bring a company to Canada. And we did that, and we did really well. We had a team of over 5,000 all across the world.
Oh, wow.
We were making 30, 40 grand a month. We were the people who were on stage with the big checks and all of that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, we wanted to learn how to use online marketing as a way to support our ability to grow our network marketing business at the time, and how to help our team have an advantage. And what the company said to us ultimately was, no, you can't do that. So if you do that, we're going to take away your code. And so we quit right on the spot, cut off, you know, 30, 40 grand a month in income, because to us, we didn't have, it really wasn't our business at the end of the day. It's still somebody else's business that can make decisions and do whatever they want and tell you whatever they want, rightfully so. It's their company, but that wasn't who we were as people. And so now we have, you know, obviously skills in networking and building our business, and then we developed some online skills. And so now we're here, no income. I ended up going back to get a job while I was trying to figure out what our next move was. And so what we ended up doing was we leveraged the skills we had learned for, you know, to grow our business. And we applied it to my dad's blinds company. So my dad has a blinds company. He's had it for 30, 40 years. And I decided that he would be my test subject, because who better than your parent? I mean, he's going to support me. Even if it sucked, he would still be super happy and excited. So that's what we did, and his phone blew up, you know, phone calls after phone calls. He's never had scalability or predictability in his business ever in 30 years. And to have that now and see the impact was pretty substantial. And then what ends up happening is that we then were able to leverage that result to get more clients, and eventually built our agency to 80 grand a month. And then oh yeah, go ahead.
Question. So, two questions. Right.
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions. But
sorry if I'm going too fast.
No, all good. All good. So when you went from, you know, 30, 40K, you know, monthly, right? And then it was cut. And then your transition, you went back to it sounds like you went to like a 9-to-5 for a little while.
Yeah,
is that right?
I did.
Okay. I experienced something kind of similar. Like, I want to know what that was like, what you were thinking. For me, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I had what Tony Robbins would call a lost identity. So, you know, I was like a president at a college, and I was unemployed the next day. I was like, whoa, this sucks. And then the second thing is, how long were you on that? How long did you go back to that 9-to-5 before you started helping your dad? Get a time frame on that.
I mean, yeah, the emotions of that were really hard, for sure. I definitely felt embarrassed because I had already quit my job once, and now I'm having to go tail between my legs to go back to a job. And at this time, I'm dating my now husband, and he's unemployable. Like, he's been an entrepreneur since he was like 16 years old. He barely graduated high school. He's one of the smartest people I know, but school is just not his thing. Like, he was a skater, snowboarder. He hated the system since he was like a little kid. So, he wasn't going to go get a job. Like, there was no way that he would even have an ability to, go get work, but I could. I had a business degree. I had a lot like that I could lean on in that respect. So I did go back. It was embarrassing. I felt really bad, but I don't think I lost my identity in that it was temporary. I knew it was temporary. I knew it was just what I had to do for a period of time to just get my life together. And sometimes you do have to take one step back to take two steps forward. And in this situation, that's what I had to do. And I leveraged, or at least how I dealt with it, was that I was pissed off every single day. I was mad. I hated my job. I hated the people I worked with. I despised it with everything in my being. So I just used that anger as fuel to work harder, and that allowed me to push through it. And eventually, I was such a bad employee. Oh my God, I'm surprised I wasn't fired, because I'd use every second I could to work on my business while at my job. I do it at lunchtime. I would work in the evenings and on the weekends. My biggest belief is, if you're in that position, if you're working a full-time job, the biggest thing is you want to treat it like a part-time business, not a sometimes business. And there's a very, very big distinction between the two. A part-time business means that you have decided that you maybe have 10 hours a week or 20 hours a week that you're going to commit to this thing, and that you spend that time no matter what, consistently, all the time. So you have to find what those hours are for you. Maybe it's 10, maybe it's 5, maybe it's 20. It doesn't matter how much time it is. What matters is that you're consistent with it, because if you approach it from the perspective of, I'm going to work 1 hour this week and 10 hours next week, and then 3 hours the week after, you're not going to get anywhere. Business and success in business is really about consistent effort over a period of time. And so that's where you want to treat it more like a part-time business. So I did that for about a year and a half.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, cool. So yeah. You started helping your dad. You started getting some success. You probably proved it to yourself, like, okay, we could do something with this. And what happened after that?
We started to leverage that case study. So, all you need to create success in anything is just one win. That's it. And if you take that one win and you turn it into 2, and then you take 2 wins and you turn it into 4, and you take 4 wins and you turn it into 8, and that's literally all I've ever done. And so, with my dad's company, we turned it into a case study, and then he was really excited, and he'd been a business owner in the city, pretty well known, at least for 30 years. So he did refer us to a couple of people. Now, did that mean that, we just got deals easily? No, we still had to, go and close appointments and do everything like that. But it was nice, and it taught us that the power of referrals is very, very strong. And if I could get referrals from this client, then every client moving forward is something that we're going to definitely leverage and do. So for fitness pros, it's the perfect thing too. I know I used to, back in the day, I used to be a general manager of a gym, and one thing we used to do was write down 10 friends and family that we'll give a free week to, and if you do all 10, we'll give you, a duffel bag or something that's like branded to our gym as a gift, right? And then you've taken one, member, and you've turned it into potentially 10 or 11. So that referral thing is very powerful. And then we just leveraged that result, and we did a lot of networking. So BNI, networking groups, things like that, to just get in front of people and we leveraged our network from finance as well. So eventually we started getting clients, and we built our agency to 80 grand a month.
Come on.
And then our clients started asking us if we could teach them how they could learn what we do. And thus my education platform was born, because my clients really requested it, and it kept happening over and over again. Can you please teach us? We have this media person in the company. It would be amazing if we could, train her on this, because it's so powerful. And then, we moved into coaching and consulting.
So Jessica, so for everyone that's coming on right now, this is Jessica Samis, our guest. She is I said it earlier, she's not a single seven-figure entrepreneur. She's a multi-figure entrepreneur. She's a mentor. She's a coach. She's currently based out of Las Vegas, and she helps people transition from their either 9 to 5, out their 9 to 5 into like their home-based business full-time. She has students making over $500,000 a month. So that's Jessica, for everyone who missed that intro. Jessica, I want to ask you real quick. I want to go back on the direct sales that you're doing with the insurance.
Sure.
Is that kind of like World Financial Group America, similar model?
Yeah, actually, my husband was part of WFG, so he World Financial Group, and he was directly mentored by Ed Milet.
Yeah.
At the time. We're Canadian, so I am living in Las Vegas, but I'm Canadian, so most of my story is from Canada. But my husband, I won't take credit for his success, because I kind of came in towards his end of his time in the finance in WFG. But for him, he was the fastest six-figure earner in Canada, and the youngest. So that was cool. So he had a lot of success, and actually we were just talking about this weekend, that his base shop, like the agents that he built, they're still there, and they're still doing very well. And had we not left that income, it'd still be pretty significant. But sometimes life happens, and they weren't allowing us to transition his license the way we wanted to. So sure. I mean, for us, we don't like to carry baggage too. I think if something is negative, we'd rather just move on than try and hold on to something that keeps us down. And so, I mean, nothing negative about that company. I feel like the foundation of who we became, our mindset, our thoughts on success, our follow through, our disciplines, I feel like we really learned from there. And some of the people that we've known since then, 10 years ago now, they're still our closest friends, and they're still successful, because once you develop a strong mindset, it doesn't matter what the function of what you do is, you're just going to always be successful, because your thermometer has raised, and now you're able to think a certain way. And so I'm very grateful for that time. I learned a lot, and obviously, we got to learn from Ed Milet, who wasn't this big social icon like he is now. He was just Ed Milet. I mean, he just did calls with his team, and we got to plug in. And, again, it goes back to always being surrounded by people who've been where you want to go, so they can help you go where you want to go.
What is I've heard Ed Milet talk about the thermometer. What does that mean? What's the thermometer?
So it's like your threshold, right? Imagine everybody knows what the cruise control in your car is, right?
Right.
So when you set your cruise control in your car, it knows whether to speed the car up and put some gas on it to keep within that speed limit that you've set, or it knows to pump the brakes and slow you down. And so inside, we all have an internal thermometer, and it's also our threshold of what income level we're comfortable at. And the more that you grow and the more success that you develop, that thermometer increases, right? And so now, my threshold of when I start to panic is way higher than when it used to be. And so as you grow, that thermometer, that gauge, slowly goes higher and higher. And so once it's set, that's kind of where you stay in this little high and low range of that set. And so that never changes. Like the business could go away, but I still am set here. That's where
Right.
I do my worth.
That's why you hear stories about people winning the lotto, and then
Yeah,
sometimes they lose it because their thermometer, right?
that's
And
right.
it brings it back down to the speed limit. Okay. And then, how do you like make the thermometer like take on more?
I think
Grow
it's
that.
huge piece is personal development. Like, I mean, even if you follow Ed Milet, like he is eats, breathes, lives mindset, right? The space between your ears is super powerful. And when you study consciousness and you study energy, you realize like you really can do anything you set your mind to. But the only way that you're going to master that is by putting good information in. Because what I've come to realize is that the voices in my head are liars, right? Like I have to visualize that the thoughts that I have are coming from like a drunk monkey, because it makes it so ridiculous that I can't even listen, because your thoughts are really coming from your past experience, not your future desire. It's coming from what has happened to you in the past, but you live in the present and you're working towards your future. So what does it matter what your past thoughts say? That's not who you are anymore. That version of you is dead. Like you are here right now in this moment. So there's no use in believing in past things, and it's hard. I'm not going to admit, like say it's like something you can just flip. But that's why the importance of taking your personal development seriously and treating it like a daily commitment where you're putting good in and you're doing it over a period of time, you start thinking different. You start believing different. It's like little things, like instead of saying, can I do this? You change it to when I do this. And you see, it's a very small change. But what happens in your brain when you give those two statements are very different. Can I is going to make you be like, you're going to now think, well, maybe, but there's this, or there's this.
Right.
Or there's this reason why I can't do it. And your mind starts to justify why it can't do something. But when you say when I can, that means you've already decided it's going to happen. The word decide literally means to put to death any other options.
Oh, that's strong.
That if you make a decision, there's no other option. Like you're going to do it. So instead of saying, can I, say when I. Now, how long it takes, that's a different story, but it's still going to be accomplished.
Jessica, I'm going to tell my wife tonight I'm making a decision. I'm going to make a decision tonight.
That's what my husband says all the time. Like literally our students and our members, they know, like that's something we train on a lot, is that to make a decision means that you put to death other options. Like if you actually look up that word in the dictionary, that's the literal definition.
So for you, when you start working with like new students, you could probably tell like where they're at in their development by how they talk, how they speak, how they respond. Maybe we'll see, not sure, versus like making that decision, like you said, right?
Yeah, I'd say 9 times out of 10, it's mindset. Like it's mindset towards any like yes, we teach, obviously, like I'm a big proponent that you can't just wish success to happen. You have to develop real tangible skills, and there's no shortcut to success. So I see all the time these ads of these coaches that are like, oh, this is so easy and you don't have to learn anything. You just do this and make money. Well, great. Like, yeah, that might be good for a short-term solution, but you're not going to develop long-term success that way. You need to know real tangible skills, and it's simple to do when you follow a very particular process. But it's something that you have to still do, I believe. So I do think, though, that even when I teach Facebook ads, for example, the very first video that I have is the mindset towards Facebook advertising, because your money issues that you have internally are going to come out when you're running ads. Wow. Because now you're going to be like, oh my God, my landing page isn't converting, so I'm going to go and change everything and fix this and fix this and fix this all at the same time. And then they're all like scattered. But it's because their internal compass is freaking out. It's so afraid to lose money that it doesn't calm down to just actually look at the data and understand what each number is telling them. Because yes, even if your funnel and your stats are off, it doesn't matter, because what it is giving you is a story. Each number has a story. Your CPC indicates one thing. Your landing page conversion indicates another. Your other costs indicate other things. So you have to figure out first which number is off, and then just adjust slightly so that you like make it improve towards your desired outcome. And if you do that properly, it's not as stressful. It becomes fun, but it all starts again with mindset.
Cool. Love that. So Jessica, I want to hear about the agency, but I want to go back when you were like younger. So, you know, when I was in high school, I was a knucklehead. Like I was a knucklehead. In junior high, I had my own seat. You know, I was like a knucklehead. I'm walking out of high school, and you know, my parents were like, "Since you're 18, we're getting the heck out of here." I had a lot of trouble growing up, and I found personal development like my mid-20s. Became a husband, became a dad, and everything just changed.
That's amazing.
Like the whole world just changed. Like everything just nothing but blessings started coming in. So when you were, and I bring that up because I never thought about really success as a teenager. You know, I didn't know I could do great things. Did you have like big dreams and ambitions like in your mid-teens and you're 18 years old? Did you know, were you similar to you are now? What was your mindset back then?
I was a nerd. I'm East Indian, so any Asian person will know that like doing well in school is like a non-negotiable. Like, right. Like so I had to do well, or like, you know, I get like a slap. Right. Something, I don't know. I just was so afraid of my parents getting mad at me if I didn't get good grades. So I definitely was always excelling at whatever it was I did. I always wanted to be kind of like the best. And like, I think that is also how my parents raised me though. Like both my parents are entrepreneurial, and it's a really interesting thing because I'm East Indian. And they wanted me to do really well in school so I could become a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. They supported me through my education. You know, East Indian families, they'll pay for university, they'll pay for your car, because they want you to not have any other stresses other than getting good grades, right? Yeah. They don't want you to be distracted by anything else. And so my parents really said, hey, we've had these businesses, but our life is very stressful and we don't want that for you. We want you to have security. We want you to be respected. We want you to have, you know, a predictable income every month. We don't want you to feel like everything is wonderful one month and terrible the next month. Like, we want a better life for you. And that was like a hard thing at first, but my parents also were the ones who, if I brought home a test and I got like, let's say 90%, my mom would always ask, well, what did Amy get? Who is this other girl who was like smart in my class? And I'd be like, well, she got 92%. And my mom's like, well, why didn't you get 92% or 93%? Like, what, like, why are you like not as good as Amy? And so I feel like they've kind of like bred that like excellence is like required. And like, I feel like it's been something inside of me. Like, I've always wanted to be a leader. Okay. I didn't always understand the capacity. Like in high school, I was a part of leadership. I was a vice president of my high school student union. I ran a youth committee in high school for Canadian Blood Services. I was the vice president of external affairs there. So my job was to promote youth donors between the ages of 18 and 25. And I don't know, I just always wanted that. I didn't understand it at the time at all. Like I just knew that I liked it. I liked feeling good, and I felt like if we do good things, then you feel good. So I just wanted to keep doing that, and I feel like I always had a calling to help people, but I never really understood like the function of it. I didn't know that meant I was going to be an entrepreneur. Like I went through university thinking I was going to become or high school thinking I was going to become a doctor. Like that's what I was bred for. I did all my sciences. But then in grade 12, I had like a bit of a feeling like I don't think this is right for me. And I remember I had a family friend who he was a lot older than me. I considered him to be like a big brother or mentor. And I would sit with him and talk, and he was the one who gave me my first business book. And he said, I think this is something that might be a better path for you. And even then, I went to university for business, but I was assuming I was going to get a job or, work in business, but maybe corporate business. I didn't think I'd ever like do this path. And I also think that when I first started this path, I felt like really embarrassed when I talked to my classmates because they were all like working these big corporate jobs or whatever. And I'm like growing my network marketing company. And, but now it's totally the opposite. So, I mean, you have ups and downs along the journey, but I think if you stay true to who you are, and it may not always be clear, like it wasn't always clear for me. Like I've always believed that the dots don't always make sense when you look forward, but when you look back, you can see exactly how every dot connected. And so sometimes it's like a little bit of faith mixed with a little bit of courage, mixed with a little bit of just do it. Like, what's the worst that could happen? Like somebody says no to you, like, oh, well, like, yeah, it sucks, but it doesn't really. Like, I mean, if you learn that you treat it like a game, like so many no's is eventually going to lead to somebody saying yes to me. Like I think we all just tend to take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah, just do it. Nike. Just do it. So a couple more questions before I want to hear about I want to tell these guys what you're doing today.
Sure.
Hector Lamarck, you know that name? Hector Lamarck? Okay, so Hector Lamarck, he's one of the biggest influences on me in my career.
He's incredible. He was Ed Milet's mentor, just if you want to know how that all connects.
So Hector was Ed Milet's mentor? Is that what you said?
So Ed Milet joined Primerica, and he was young, and he was recruited by Hector Lamarck, and Hector Lamarck trained Ed Milet, and then Ed Milet got an opportunity to go to WFG, and that's kind of where the two separated, but they one raised the other, so they're both amazing guys.
Yeah, so I seen a Hector Lamarck interview maybe 7 years ago by Grant Cardone, and I'm like, who the heck's this Hector Lamarck cat? He's kind of like he was huge way before the internet. And so not really out there on social media. So I started looking him up. There's actually 3 YouTube videos that I've seen over 300 times a piece. And like to this very day, I just play them on the reel, just in the background, playing them on the reel. And like when my family's on the car, I'll turn them on and I'll listen to them. And he has like handling objections and closing audios. So
I've watched them all probably hundreds.
I know you have. That's what I was going to ask you. That's going to set up my question. Whether you're online marketer, fit pro, whatever, how important is sales as an entrepreneur, as a skill set?
It's everything. Like I believe everything is sales. Like I feel so bad for sales having such a bad reputation. Like people like avoid sales because they don't want to be slimy. They think about the car salesman or the pushy person. Well, that's not really sales. And that's why I think it has a bad conversation. But if you've ever had a boyfriend or a girlfriend, if you've ever had a child, every interaction you've had with that person has been sales. Like, for example, you have to know how to be somewhat persuasive if you have ever been in a relationship, because your goal is to go on a date with the person. And when you're on the date with the person, you don't propose marriage, because if you did, that date would just end. Like that person would be like, "Okay, that girl's crazy. Like I'm staying away. Like no, thank you." But people approach sales just like that, right? Instead, when you go on a first date, you get to know each other. You give some sort of reason or some sort of connection of why you want to see that person again. And so that is sales. Like that whole experience is sales. Like you're selling each other on why you need to be together. And that happens. Like, and if you have a kid, well, the kid doesn't want to eat broccoli. Well, now you have to sell your child why eating broccoli is a good thing. You do airplanes, or you, I don't know, melt some cheese on it or something, like, just so your kid will eat the broccoli. I mean, you've sold your child now on why they need to eat broccoli or put their toys away or do whatever. So I feel like sales is something that we do on a daily basis. In any interaction or conversation you have, there's always going to be somebody who's leading it. So instead, like, just it's all in how you approach it. I feel like sales really is providing a solution to somebody's problem. And if you focus on just that, like, and you just focus on how you can help a person and take yourself out of the equation, because a sales call is not about you. It's not about you sitting there being like, I made this much money and I have this 2 Comma Club plaque and I've got these cars and I have this house and blah, blah, blah. No, that doesn't matter. Like, it matters, like, okay, what's going on with you? Like, what have you tried in the past? Like, where can I help you? Like, where are you struggling? What have you done to fix it? Like, what does it mean to you to get over this? Okay, well, I can help you. And it's no longer a sales feeling thing. It's an interaction thing. And I think that sales is interesting too, because there's so many ways to do it. You can be a shark, and you can be one of those, car sales insurance type people who just like push. You can be that type of person, or you can be soft like me and build relationships and, find out how you can help people. Like, I don't feel like I've ever really sold anything, but I've had a lot of people buy from me. So it's totally based on your personality and your approach. But I think, sales, regardless of function, is something you need, because without sales, you don't have a business.
Got it. One thing I knew from the very first conversation that we had when I called you, I knew you're an expert at asking questions. And you're an expert at listening. So I was like, I had to plan what I was going to say. And you're like, hold on, Mike, tell me about you. What are you looking to do? What's going on? And I was like, okay, she's like very, professional, very seasoned.
Not about me. I mean,
exactly.
My biggest pet peeve, so just FYI, from somebody who is multi-7-figure big business owner, my biggest pet peeve is when I get messages from people who say, hey, it's great to be connected with you. I can totally help you scale. When's a good time for us to connect? And I'm like, whoa. Like, first of all, you don't know me. You don't know anything about my business. You don't know where I'm struggling. You don't know that you can help me. Like, I don't know anything about you either. Like, what kind of result do you think is going to happen? My answer, even if it was a possible yes, is automatically a no. Like, no, not interested. I don't respect the process of that. And successful people know that, right? So it's one of the best books if you want to get better at this topic, or is something you want some improvement on. Definitely Hector Lamarck is amazing. Tim Sales, incredible. Actually, my favorite was Tony Hawkins. I used to listen to Tony Hawkins. Or Tom Hawkins, sorry, in my car, like, on repeat. But the book is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
That's the first book I've ever read on personal development. My coworker at a cubicle gave it to me. I was like, man, I don't need this. Changed my freaking life, just like that.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's one of the most powerful books. I think it's one of the first books I ever read, too. And it's a book I read every year. I've read it every year, at least once a year for 10 years, because it's so powerful.
Wow. Okay, so don't want to hold you up forever. Could you tell us a little bit about what's going on today, what you're doing today? Actually, it's actually interesting, because we initially really focused a lot of our training specifically on agencies and doing marketing for local businesses. Gotcha.
But in the time that I've had, we're talking 10 years has happened from the start of this conversation to where we are now, I have had a lot of experience. And one of the things that's been bothering me and Jeff the most lately is the status of the market, and everybody and anybody is just a coach. And it's hard for people to know who to trust and where to go for information. And I feel like to be a coach is an earned position. I don't think everybody should be one. But if it's a passion, I do think that there is an ability for everybody to help somebody. So it's a fine balance. But the point is that we just felt like it was really limited in its scope. So we know that there is no right path to making money online. They all can work. But what makes it work for you is that the path you select is in alignment with who you are and what kind of life you want to live. If you're a person who hates talking to people and you're just like to be behind a computer and make money and never talk to a person, starting an agency is not the right path for you. It's not to say that the agency path is not good. It just is not good for that particular person. And so other people have different interests. Maybe somebody wants to start an e-commerce store. Maybe there's a person who wants to be an influencer and just be an affiliate and represent a lot of different things and learn how to do that. Maybe a person is really just great at curating an audience and then selling their audience to other people. There's so many ways that you can monetize online. And so that's been a big thing for me and my husband. We're launching our new company in a couple weeks, which is really exciting. It's an online platform that teaches basically every skill you would ever need. We walk you through whatever path, so you basically get to choose which path you want. You get them all, obviously, but then once you select which path is for you, then we take you through which skills you really need for that path and what order you need to kind of go through things in order to accomplish the goal that you are, and really create more frameworks around how you can have success, because a lot of the material that's out there is just a piece. Maybe it's Facebook ads over here or Google PPC over here or sales over here, and it's all very disjointed. And that's the hard part. That's what took us a lot longer. My student who's making $500,000 a month now, he never worked online. He happened to be also a financial planner. You don't buy asterisks. You don't need to have started there. It so happens that one example is the same as mine. I have others, and we've got plastic surgeons. We've got people who are working with neuro programming. We have people working with real estate all over the place. But this one example, he went from zero, no knowledge of anything, to where he is now, and it's been 2 years. And it took me and Jeff maybe 5 to 6 years to do that. So actually not even, because we built our agency to $80,000 a month. But he obviously has built his agency to $500,000 a month. So obviously, when you know the right order and you know how the skills connect and what order you need to take things in and where you need to implement leverage and power and outsource certain things and how to outsource properly and who to outsource properly to, all that kind of stuff. Once you know all of these things, it's a lot easier to go faster. And that's kind of what we've done. We knew a recession was coming, so it's a very affordable platform. We definitely have tiers as you go to make it more affordable and for people to be able to identify where they're at in the process. And so that's kind of where things are today. Our community right now, we have 1,500 members. They're all doing really incredible, and I love helping people. I love doing stuff like this. I do believe it's what I was called. My soul is called to do that. I do believe that if you help enough people in life get what they want, you will get what you want. And that's led me every day of my business journey.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Guys, this is a multi-seven-figure entrepreneur. This is a mentor. This is a coach. She's coming here to share her story with you guys. She's talking about sales and mindset and development. So Jessica, we really, really appreciate your time. today. Do you guys have any questions, or is there anything you
Yeah,
guys
if anyone
have?
has any questions, I'm totally here to answer any questions.
This is time to speak
I got
up.
a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you had to go back to your 9 to 5 and all that good stuff, and like kind of start all over, I know you said that you just don't stop. You just don't get it. Don't let anything get in your way. But what was like the turmoil in your head? What were you telling yourself at that point? The back and forth between, yes, I can do this, and no, holy shit. What was that? How did you get through that?
I mean, yeah, it was a lot of back and forth. I think the key is just to try and win as many to win as many of the fights as you can. Like, as long as you win one more fight than you lose, then you're ahead, right? And so, I mean, for me, it was like a lot of days of like complete panic to be like, oh my God, am I stupid? Like, is this the wrong path? Like, my parents are telling me like my parents like have so many like negativity in the beginning, not because, and I think that's also something important, is that it wasn't just because they didn't not believe in me, but they were worried about me because I'm their daughter. And so sometimes you're going to get rejection and you're going to think it's because you're going to take it and you're going to feel like, oh, it's because they don't believe in me. And I literally, that is what I thought. But the more that I think about it, I realize it's not that my parents don't believe in me. In fact, now today, they're my biggest fans and my biggest support, and will do anything to support me and my goals. But at the time, I didn't think that. I thought my parents were just like shitting on my dreams and like didn't believe in me and like, what the hell? And like, I'm all alone, and now I'm just like having to prove them wrong, and like I'm like this crazy person. And so it was like that battle of like, am I crazy? Like, am I stupid? Is this like right? Like, am I like ruining my life? Can I do this? Like, I might sound like everything was perfect, but the only thing that I did right was I just didn't like let it win. I didn't let those conversations stop me, because like, and also I did have the support of my husband, and you might not have that in your significant other, but you have each other in this amazing community. So you can do that for each other, right? That support is important, because on days where I maybe was like really, really weak and was like, I can't do this. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I worked so hard in my university degree. Like, I should just go get a job. Like, I'm like, don't even have a life. Like, I remember at this time, my husband delayed every gratification. We never celebrated birthdays on the days. We never celebrated anniversaries on the days, because we were just working, and it was always like work. And I just remember feeling like, well, if I just got a job, then at least like I'd have like the time like to celebrate with my boyfriend. Like, but we just decided we wouldn't like quit on the same day. Like, so if he had a bad day, I was like the strong one. And if I had a bad day, and granted more times than not, it was me having a bad day. My husband is so stubborn, and you can't convince him like to change his mind once his mind is made. And he's been like, has made up his mind that he was going to be an entrepreneur since he was 16. I literally don't think he could do anything else. That's how stubborn he is with it. So like, he definitely had far less I'm going to quit days as I did. But I think it was a lot of that, and a lot of like imposter syndrome. Like, I felt like, okay, I quit my job and I like made this a huge deal. I remember the first time I quit my job, my husband had like this big limo show up at my office and take a bunch of my friends out and throw this massive retirement party. And just to go like back to a job after something like that was super embarrassing. I didn't go to the same company, luckily, because that would have been even more embarrassing. But sometimes you have to do what it takes. You have to decide that the reason why you want something is more powerful than the reason why not. And if you do that, then, and you keep that in front of you, like, what does it mean to you? I mean, for me in the beginning, my husband and I couldn't even get engaged until we had a successful business. Like, to me, that was everything. We needed to make it happen. We needed to go. Otherwise, we couldn't get married. And again, I'm East Indian, so I wasn't supposed to live with my boyfriend, but I kind of did. And that wasn't like eventually they found out and they know and it's all good. But like, you know, like just things like that. I didn't want to have to like live two different lives. Like I just wanted to, you know, be me. I wanted to be married. I wanted my life. And that was more important than the pride and ego that I had to work at a job. And, you know, I met some really great people. Actually, this one girl that I worked with at that second job when I went back, she was so supportive to my goals and dreams that she would cover me so that I could work on my business and she'd do my work and her work. So that's how much she believed in me. Now, then she eventually got laid off from that job, and guess what I got to do? I got to hire her. And she's been on payroll with me now for 3 years. And now it's like that your dreams get to be so big that you can make other people's dreams come true. And that is so much more powerful to me. Like, yeah, it was great. I got to quit my job. But now because she supported me in that time, I got to make sure she was taken care of too. And I feel like, you know, if I didn't go back and get that job, maybe I wouldn't have met her. And she's one of my strongest team members. And I don't feel like my business would be the same today if I didn't have her on my team. So, you know, sometimes things happen the way they're supposed to. And I guess, I mean, if you believe in God or the universe or whatever, like there is some power like that is working for your advantage. So sometimes things that seem like curses end up being blessings in disguise. And so it's not always easy. The conversations back and forth get really frustrating, but I feel like if you can try and win more of the good days than the bad days, you'll win. And I think that the more you go, you get better at winning more days. And the only way you're going to fail is if you quit.
Jessica, you know, your friend that you brought onto your team, it's what you said earlier. Sometimes when you're going through it doesn't make sense, but when you look behind you, the dots line up perfectly. So you meaning her, you, and then you have the opportunity to bring her on. So
yeah, and I did learn some other cool things at that job that have helped me in my business too. I was a proposal coordinator for an engineering company at that second job. So I was the one who was bidding on multi-million-dollar jobs for these engineers because they suck at writing and they're just like really good technical. And I won lots of jobs and I learned how to present formal proposals. So in our agency, I actually think because I had to develop that template for the company. So I was like, I did this. So I'm just going to like duplicate my version and then I'm going to create that for the agency. So there were certain skills like that I did pick up on that once you learn how to think like an entrepreneur, then you're like, oh, like you can take an idea from over here and transmute it into your business in a creative way. And I gained something out of that I probably wouldn't have had otherwise. So, you know, that kind of stuff is cool. Again, things I probably wouldn't have really realized unless I went through it. Another thing is that it teaches me how to teach other people how to build a business part-time so that if somebody asks me, hey, can I do this part-time? I can honestly say, yes, you can, because I did.
Right, exactly. Okay, cool. Greg, so don't quit, man. I got you, baby. I got you.
Never
quit.
Guys, any other questions? Do we have any questions for Jessica?
Danica, I have a question. Yeah. Hey, Jessica. Well, thank you so much for, for having us with this one. I appreciate you. Anyway, I just have a question. You've mentioned something about, making decisions earlier. So, I just wanted to get something from you about if you're stuck on, making decision on a certain thing, like you're stuck on making a decision for like a certain situation, like what would be the best thing to do for you to be able to make, the best decision that you can have, like, to get the best option that you can have on making those decisions?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's thinking things through for sure and understanding what your desired outcome really is, right? And deciding, like, maybe it's that you're stuck between a choice between two different things. And so now here are your two options and here's your desired outcome. So now you want to take a look at what options are going to get you towards your desired outcome. And so you ultimately, and then it's also part on faith. Like, I still make decisions today and I'm like, I don't know if that's going to be good, but you have to kind of have faith and just trust, because you may not get it right the first time, but what you do have the ability to do is adapt, evolve, and change. So like my thing is, let's get something out there, let's test something, and then adapt quickly, right? Adjust quickly. And that can work in a lot of different ways. So like, for example, if you're wanting to become a consultant and a coach and you want to have a course and you want to do group coaching, that's great. But the fastest way to get there is to do one-on-one coaching. Work with one person, see how that goes, and then work with another. And then the more that you do that, the more you have a very refined process. And so that's you adapting and evolving as you go. And if you do it in these little micro ways, then when you make big decisions, you have that data to kind of support you. And like, I always believe that in data we trust, but you don't always have all of the data. In business, you will never have all the data. You may have 90%, but the rest of that 10% is just that little bit of gumption, that little bit of like, I'm just going to do it. I think that the fundamentals, the fact that each one of you is on this call means that you've got that, right? To be an entrepreneur, you have that little, like, I'm going to jump. I'm going to jump because it's exciting and I'm going to do it. And what's the worst case that's going to happen? You'll fall. Like my thing is like, if I lost all of my money and all of my stuff today, that doesn't freak me out anymore, because you know what will never leave me is my skills and my mind. And so I can build my money back up again. Money is meant to be circulated, distributed, moved. But no one can ever take away your skills. And so I think it's always just trying to pick make the decision that's going to get you towards your desired outcome. So that all starts with your why. Like, why are you doing this? And what does it mean to you? It's like that saying, like, that your why should make you cry. It can't just be about money. It's deeper. It's about what that money can do for you. Does that mean that you get to spend more time with your kids? Does it mean that you can finally give back to your parents who've sacrificed their whole life for you? What does it mean to you? Because you hear these stories of how mothers can pick up vehicles off their children because the love is so strong. That's what a why is supposed to do. It's supposed to be so strong that even when you're weak, it's going to keep you going.
Mm.
Yeah. Love that. Okay. Thank you so much.
Got one more. Last question. Kim, I saw your... Kim's on mute.
Sorry.
What's up,
Hi. Okay, so it's just a quick one. It's kind of similar. It's about principles. So...
Oh.
We lost Kim.
Did we lose Kim?
Yeah.
Or is it me? Uh-oh.
We'll give her a second.
I don't mind answering questions. It's all good. If you guys have more questions.
Questions? Onisha, question?
If anyone else does.
Yeah, I do. It's more on the mindset. So I know you probably, like, within business and within, like, your learning curve of everything, you probably hit, like, some valleys as far as mindset wise, or having to do, like, certain things repetitively. Like right now I would say I'm kind of in a little itty bitty valley concerning, like, my whole sales force. So I wanted to know, like, how did you, like, persevere mental wise?
Yeah, I mean, I actually just had a really, really, really big valley this last, like, in 2019. It was really rough for me. Jeff and I have had a friend who we brought up in business. He did everything with us. We considered him like our brother, and he was in our business, and it turned out that he was secretly working with somebody behind my back. while, living in our home and, eating the food that I gave him and all this stuff. Like, I considered him my brother, and it was really awful. It made me question everything about myself, about what I do, about everything. And it was the most painful thing I've ever been through. Like, it felt like a death. Now, I've had issues and stuff happen in business, like, it does happen, and it's always hard, but this one was really hard because, he was like my little brother. I would have done anything in my life for him, and I have, like, a lot. And so that was really painful. I got pretty dark. Like, inside, I felt really bad. I was sad, depressed. I pulled back from my customers. Like, I pulled back from my team. I just was stressed all the time. I felt like I could argue with people, like, on the fly. And I realized something wasn't okay, and I needed to fix it. And the reason that it got so low was I got lazy with my personal development because I got busy. You'll notice that when you become successful, you get busy. And so then you think that maybe you don't need to do it, or maybe you don't need to focus on it. Like, personal development isn't something that you're going to put on a Band-Aid and do it until you get to a certain point and then you're just good, you're done. Like, Ed Milet still reads and listens to audio every single day, and I had stopped doing it. And so for me, it was like I just felt so, like, not myself, and I felt like even to do the most simplest tasks that normally I could do with ease was so difficult for me, and I didn't like how it felt. But I was, like, at a really low point. You do sometimes kind of fall into it, and it feels like you're never going to get out of it. Like, I felt like I was never going to get out of it. Like, I was just destroyed. He ruined my faith in people. I just felt sad. And so it was really, really, I'm trying to, like, talk about it, but it's, like, without getting emotional. But I really had a hard time. And so I made a commitment that I was just going to take it seriously. Like, I knew what I needed to do. The thing is, when you're upset and you're, like, unhappy, you know what you need to do. You just don't want to do it. And it's not to say anything like that I'm, like, judging you or saying that. I obviously have the same issue. We all do. But it's like the more defensive you get, the more that you need that thing, right? And so for me, I just made a commitment that I was going to re-implement my morning routine that I stopped doing, which was that I have to take care of myself and my mind first before I can do anything else. I started that on December 8th, so not that long ago, again, like, to re-inspire that. And every morning I have a routine, and it's very, 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 it's like a religious experience. Like, no one can interrupt me. Nothing can come in the way. It doesn't matter if it's Saturday or Sunday or if I'm on a vacation or what. It's non-negotiable. If I've had company in my house, I've had all this stuff, but I will not negotiate on it without anything. And all I do, I read. I've already read 40 books this year. So I'll read in the mornings. If you don't like to read, you can listen to audio, whatever you want. I put good stuff in my brain. I meditate. I get ready for the day, and then I'm in, because what happened to me was not that, like, okay, now that I look back at that situation, I have so much forgiveness in my heart, because I realized he didn't do it to me. He maybe just saw an opportunity, and he was uncomfortable to talk to me about it, and so I don't hate him. I wish him well. I've even wished him a happy birthday. I'm still going to be me. I'm not going to change who I am, but the way I feel, my perspective on the situation, how I identify with it completely has changed. And that is because, you have to feed yourself first before you can feed others. And I think for a long time, I was working on empty. I did this work and I got busy and I just stopped doing it. And then you get empty. Life happens. It's like, I think that's something that Ed Milet taught me and Jeff, was that you're like a car. Again, he must like cars because a lot of these are car-related examples, but it's like you're a car and you drive, right? And then you have a gas tank, and eventually your gas tank approaches empty, and so you have to fill that gas tank back up with gas. Otherwise, the car's going to stop, or you're going to damage the vehicle. And so the same goes for life. Like as we go through life, little things just take your energy. You know, maybe it's like you saw the news, you know, on what just happened the other day, like, is so sad. I know that took something out of me, you know, like, and all these things happen. Maybe somebody says no to you, or your family member's ill, like, or something happens, and all these little things just take away little bits of gas. And unless you're putting gas back in, you're running on empty. And that's when you're in a valley. And so the way you avoid a valley is just to keep putting yourself back in. And it's not that I haven't had bad days. Like, since I started doing this, I definitely have had bad days, but I don't spiral. So I don't like let one bad thing turn into 17 million bad things where your thought goes like, oh my God, this person like was short with me. And then that turns into, well, maybe they're mad at me. Oh, maybe it's because I said this. But then it's like, oh, maybe if I said it this way, like, oh, maybe I should like say this so that they're not as mad at me. And then what ends up happening is you piss that person off because your like own insecurity is causing you to act like not like yourself. And so that's the negative spiral. And then when that happens too much, you feel like you're in a valley. And so you have to like catch these things like on a daily basis. And I think it's something that you'll never graduate from. And when I was in the valley and Jeff was telling me about that, I was like, that sounds like so much work. Like, I have so much on my plate already. Like, how am I going to like even like have the time to do this? But what you realize is like, I want to do it. Like, I feel like the time that I then spend working, I can do so much more, and it's created time instead of taking time away, and it's something you want to do. It feels so good.
That's awesome. Jessica, I wanted to say thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. We really appreciate it. On behalf of the group, you know, thank you. A lot of gems. Like, the big thing is just like the mindset. I keep hearing you talk about the mindset, the development. Congratulations on your success. We really appreciate it. And is there anything that we can do? If there's anything I can do to, you know, like return the favor, just don't hesitate to reach out. Absolutely. Where do we find you? Where do we find you on social?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Jessica Samis. I'm on Facebook too, but I think I don't have much room for more friends on there, but you can follow me there. But I'd prefer to connect on Instagram if you guys want. That's definitely where I am these days.
Cool. Thank you. So, Jessica, we'll let you jam. Everybody, have a beautiful Thursday. It's been strong, y'all.
Keep crushing it.
Take care.
Bye.
Goodbye. Bye.